Here we are, back for another At the Movies, episode 7 already of season 3, where we talk about independent films and speak with some independent filmmakers. Um, Today's episode is going to be interesting, going to be a wild one, because I don't think either of us knew much about this movie going in. It was plucked from a list of top top indie films of the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
The film is Butter on the Latch by Josephine Decker. First of all, not to get too off topic, but I do want to say I apologize. I've realized that I'm the Kanye West of this podcast because I'm never on time. So I'm sorry, friend.
That's all right, bud.
Friendo. Bud.
It's no big
You
deal.
got another We got 2 podcasts to do, and then you got a third one after this. You're marathon man in this.
And I edited shooting the bit before this, and I gotta edit at the movies, and then I gotta start my new job tomorrow.
Big Sunday.
Big Sunday for me. Back to the old Sunday scary, so that's fun.
No blame. I empathize with you there. I get them all the time. So I hope that the new job goes well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, definitely. So Butter on the Latch. Again, and this is kind of fun going into something with zero. Like I didn't even watch the trailer. And
Yeah, I didn't either.
When I pulled the movies, this is probably the only one where it's like I had never heard of this before. I hadn't heard of Manifest Destiny Down before either, but that was one you picked. This is one where it's like I don't even remember the blurb that I read that convinced me to pick this. So I just went in totally blind. And when you watched it yesterday, you watched it before I did. You sent me a message and said, "Buckle up for this one."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Well, is it good? Is it bad?" And you were like, "Just watch it."
Yeah, I didn't want to give you my kind of take on it before you watched it because it is a film where like you kind of have to go in blind and come out with your own sort of, I don't know, the review conclusion with it. Yeah, it's tough. It's
What do you know? What do you know about mumblecore?
Mumblecore, is it the same as like mumble rapping?
It's not. I'm trying to think if it's kind of connect. I mean, so mumblecore is this kind of style of filmmaking. Like I said, so before this we were sound checking and I was talking about it a little bit, but Josephine Decker has some other films I haven't seen, but she has collaborated with a director named Joe Swanberg, who I really enjoy, who's done Drinking Buddies, and he's done segments for the VHS films, and he's directed episodes of Love. And so mumblecore is like this style of movie that's supposed to be very realistic, and I would call this a mumblecore film. In terms of dialogue, it commonly the script is a lot more scarce, and it's more of like the actors in the scene need to get from point A to point B.
Well,
and how they get there, the conversation they have, whatever.
I don't know how much you've read, but you know there's like no script for this film, right?
Yep. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like I did not expect this to be like that. As soon as the girls have that first conversation in the bathroom when they're catching up, it felt very real to me. It also felt very like intimate.
Yeah.
The cinematography in this is like bonkers. And like it can be disorienting at times. A lot of close up stuff going on, but I think it worked for the material that they were shooting.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And before we get too much into it, I think it's interesting that like this group of people, this production crew that Decker worked with is very similar to our dynamic. It was a team of 3 that went in with just a DSLR, which is what we use to shoot all our stuff with too. So the similarities between what they're working with and like what we are is kind of interesting as you read through this. It's very similar. You know, there's 3 of them, there's 3 of us, and kind of we're working with the same equipment. So if anything out of any of these movies so far out of this season, if anything is like kind of like got relatable, it's definitely this one.
It's interesting you say that too, because I was gonna say we talked about it a little bit on the Call Girl Cthulhu episode, but like when I looked at this, it felt like an independent film, but it did look like a movie to me. I don't know what that says about like this looked like a real movie to me. I mean, it was shot weird, almost borderline found footage in the way that it was shot, or like
Yeah.
they had a documentarian with them. Handheld, like a lot of handheld stuff, and maybe that helps. Maybe that is like how you kind of blur the line or blur the edges between just using that kind of camera and having it feel more
Yeah.
realistic than
Yeah, I guess in like kind of to think about it, the more that you try to make it look like a real film, the more you almost cross that line where it doesn't. So kind of like the realistic nature of this film did help its look and overall feel as a film. But I'm interested. I'm interested as we go in there before we start like giving our takes on it. I wondered if we're on the same level of this film, or if like maybe one of our opinions are lower or higher than the other one. Because this is the first time we really like. I mean, we've watched movies not together before, but usually we talk about them at least a little bit before the pod. But this is the
yeah.
first time we're both going in and like we haven't talked about it at all. So it'll be interesting.
Do you want to give? Do you want to start, or do you? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I'm down to start. I'm down to be the first one to kind of fly out, and so I'm gonna preface what I'm going to say by saying like this is not a normal film, so you can't grade it like a normal film, and I think it would be disingenuous to kind of like put this on and grade this against like other films because it's an exper it says right in it it's an experimental film, which it is. And Josephine Decker started out as a performance artist, and it's very evident while you watch this film. It's like watching a performance piece like like go on. Now at first I was like, man, everything in this film is so blurry. Like at first I was like, everything is blurry. I was like, this is crazy, and like I don't really understand the direction for that. But as the film went on, I appreciated the blurriness more because the way I interpret this film is like a dream. And I don't know, right or wrong, it's my interpretation is it felt like you were watching a dream. Like how you dream faces, like faces were blurry. Some like faces you could make out when there's like panic going on. It's like really intense, but you can't really figure out what's going on or you can't really escape it. It was honestly the same as like having a dream, but it was on your TV. You're almost basically watching Sarah have a dream, and that's what I liked about this film. Now, I liked it in its universe. Like I liked this film when you take it outside of film. I did enjoy watching it overall, but I don't feel like you can compare it to other films and kind of give it that grade of like, oh, this was a because it's so different. It's such a different like experience, and I haven't seen many things that have made me feel like this is a completely separate experience from film, almost, if you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of my initial take on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think even the runtime being like an hour and 10 minutes, this doesn't play by any rules. You know, like it doesn't really fit in the world of short film. It doesn't really fit in the world of feature film. It is something totally separate. And to your point, there's another movie that I just watched recently called Black Bear that I talked to you about a little bit. Um, and I would compare this to that in the sense that I have never seen anything quite like it. And I am definitely attracted to feeling that that gives. I feel like, that means to me, whether I love the film or not, to me, that means like, oh, they succeeded in making me feel and experience something that like no other film has. That alone is, very impressive to me. Um, but beyond that, honestly, I think I kind of love this. And it took me a little bit to like realize that. At first, I was definitely kind of like not sure what's going on here, just kind of feeling it out. But as it went on, the it's very lean. Like when I say it's 70 minutes, it's like there isn't really a waste of
Yeah.
time or anything. Like the characters and their relationships are established very quickly
Mm.
between Sarah and the other girl's name. I don't want to
Isolde
get it wrong.
is old.
Isolde. Um, their relationship feels like real, like right off the bat. It
Yeah, it
feels
feels like a
very
real
established
like
to me.
friendship. They were going through their own kind of certain situations and getting mad at each other. It's like how like real friends would operate in this situation, which is interesting.
And to your point, like putting them, it is a very dreamlike. It's so interesting. They put them in a Balkan music uh camp. Like the setting is such a bizarre thing of these two people that, and you don't even really hear how they got there, but I'm assuming the idea is kind of like these two friends there or people that have maybe lost connection a little bit decide to do this like weekend getaway thing where a bunch of white people are going to learn about Balkan music and play the drums and probably smoke weed and that kind
Just
of thing.
yeah, just have sex, do whatever they want, kind of be free for a week, and definitely felt that way.
And it seems like the stuff you're talking about too with the characters or the people that are kind of just blended into the background. It feels like they're almost cooked into like the setting, where the main characters you need kind of stand out, or characters come and go. Like the lady who tells Sarah that you know an evil spirit can take something over and can make it evil.
Well,
She comes, she does her bit, and then she leaves.
well,
And yeah, so we are kind of approaching the
yeah,
interesting pivot in this film.
that was probably the point in this movie, and I don't know about you. This is the point when she first had that conversation, because I will admit when this film first started, I was like, I don't think I really like this. Like it was blurry, and like I said earlier, and I just was like, there's no clear direction. But right when
Yeah.
she was talking, and even maybe a little bit before, I started like piecing together the story a little bit. And when she was talking, and they were going through like this, like folklore about what's going on, I was like, oh, this story makes sense. And that's kind of, I was like, it's like a dream. It's like surreal. And you start seeing that lady that was like dancing, but you can't see her face.
Hmm.
And then that scene cuts, and it's like a tree person. And then that kind of gets explained to you. You're like, okay, there's something happening here, but it's not really like stated what's going on. I was like, all right, I'm kind of in it now.
Yeah. So, and to recap for people, I'm sure if you've probably watched it if you're listening to this, but the ending of this film, essentially the tension that builds is that Sarah begins to see one of the campers. His name is Steph. She thinks he's cute. Isolde thinks he's annoying, and so Isolde starts to take it like very personally that Sarah is spending her time with Steph, and they get into a fight one night after Isolde gets drunk, and they're trying to get back to the cabin. Um, and so eventually, Sarah talks to this lady that tells her about the folklore of the area. And at the end of the film, her and Steph sneak off to have sex, and she keeps like hearing something in the distance and like being distracted, and then ultimately winds up drowning Steph, and then not really knowing like what to do and going back to camp, and then she just kind of uh, stews in that. And it's not like it's anticlimactic, but there's not much of a. The ending is definitely open for interpretation. This is what I loved about it is that four things like go through my mind, and I don't know which one is true, but I love the option that they're all there. Like, um, it is old put the curse on her, like the evil spirit. Like, did she have the opportunity to do this? Um, was it a random occurrence? Like, was it an accident? Did something just like go wrong? Like, uh, did the evil spirit take over Sarah and then exit her body? Like, was it this tension that she had between her friendship that led her to do something crazy? Like, there isn't a clear explanation for why this event happened, but in that sense, like the rest of the movie, to me, it feels very realistic when it's happening. And I like that you don't necessarily have a clear motive. You kind of have to sit with her and watch her reaction to what happened and see her like freak out and then kind of accept it and kind of have to try to go back to camp and act normal. Um, and for other movies, that's where like that would be the end
Yeah.
of like act one.
Mm-hmm.
And for this, it's the end of the film, but it really works for me. I think it's kind of like a small scale. Again, it reminded me of something maybe that we would write if we were writing a short film or something, where we say like, all right, we're gonna
Yeah,
take it to this point,
I agree
we're
with
gonna
you on
cut
that.
it, you know.
And it's like it speaks volumes to something I've said time and time again. My biggest complaint with films is when they go past they should. And this one kind of sat right on that mark. Like they knew when to cut it, they knew when to stop, and they kind of left you hanging a little bit. They left it up for interpretation. Like that's great. And that was perfect. I don't like, there's so many other films, and I think when you try to do your first film, people try to do too much and they keep it going, or they try to early on they give us too much information. Like they could have easily been like, okay, they could have done that scene where Sarah was talking and they could have explained all of the weird stuff to kind of set the scene, and then it wouldn't have been as cool as we start seeing like the universe kind of flip. So I'm really happy with the way they ended up telling the story, which was cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like that this movie doesn't treat its audience like they're dumb. Like it is also, we love movies, so this is not me like ashing on other movies that do this, because a traditional film has exposition, and this movie is like guerrilla style, just drops you in the middle of the woods, and the exposition is left for you to gather yourself through, several scenes of kind of character building and relationship building. And in that sense, it does not treat the audience like they're dumb, and this is not a movie that's going to be for everybody. And if you don't like it, it doesn't mean that you're dumb. Some people are not going to click with this style of filmmaking, but from a
Yeah.
personal standpoint, it just felt kind of fun and exciting to have a filmmaker be like, "You're not dumb. You're gonna pick up on this eventually. Be patient. Stay with it." And they kind of leave you the crumbs and the sticks that to pick up to gather your exposition, and then they send you off.
Yeah, to touch on your point, like this is, how there's like, people say like, oh, they're a comics comic. Like this is a filmmaker's film. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like if you're a casual watcher of films and you're just looking to kind of just like spend some time and killing some time like watching film and watching action, like you might not enjoy this, and that's fine. Like every film doesn't have to be for everyone. It doesn't have to be this cookie cutter experience just to get the vast majority of people to enjoy it. This really felt good for people like in our shoes that are studying film, that study film, that are interested in film, that make our own uh, content, make our own films. It was really nice to see, and I enjoyed it throughout the whole.
it yeah, it feels like and you made this point earlier, but it feels very validating in a way that like it's a reminder for us that like we can do whatever we want. Like the medium is ours. There aren't rules that we have to play by if we want to tell a certain story. Because we are you. I gotta know what flavor was you. You took a sip. You made a face. What are you drinking there?
I don't know. It's a pink Gatorade Zero, and it tastes like watermelon, kind of. Or no, it's like watermelon strawberry. Just as berry. It was interesting.
Just berry. Yeah, you made a
I'm
face, and I
sorry.
was like,
No, what I'm trying to say is it tastes like cotton candy. That's what I'm trying. That's the word.
ah,
That's the word I'm trying to say. It's like
yes.
a strawberry. I don't know. It was interesting. I wasn't sure at first when I tried it, but
I'll tell you what. Tangent, and then we'll get back to the point I was making. Um, I got the new. Look, I'm not a big regular soda drinker. Every once in a while, a regular Coke, it's what you need. But I especially like Mountain Dew. Like I would never really buy like a full flavor Mountain Dew or
no.
anything. Not a big Mountain Dew drinker in general. But I am here for the gimmicks, and I'm here for Halloween. And they have released their mystery flavor of 2021. And I bought a bottle last night to try it. So we got 2019. The flavor was candy corn. 2020. The flavor was Skittles. This year, I think, spoilers, I think the flavor is gummy worms. And
Oh,
I'll tell you right now, I took two sips of it and said, I'm never going to drink this again. But at least I know. I think it's gummy worms.
yeah. That's one thing I draw the line on. I don't like weird tasting or drinks is where I draw the line. Food is where Aaron draws the line. Drinks is where I draw
Drinks
the.
are where you. Well, we had the same reaction to the pineapple Fanta, but I will say
Well,
that
not the same. I almost threw up. We didn't.
I was a fan of the Pepsi Blue, and you rejected the Pepsi Blue very quickly.
Mhm.
Um, all right, back to butter on the latch. It just feels validating to know that essentially, um, there are times where we're going to want to play by the rules because we want our film to be considered this or that or to be accepted into this competition or something. But there's other times where we started this company with a specific goal of like doing things our own way, not having to move to New York or LA, like being able to make features or shorts or whatever we want to do from pencil or from like from Pennsylvania. And this just is like serves as a very fun reminder that like there's there are ways to tell stories. uh like again, obviously not a big. I have not looked at the budget, but it was an independent film, and so the idea that you and I could get a bunch of extras, go out into the woods, and shoot something like this, have it be 70 minutes, and not play by any rules, that's exciting. That
Yeah.
that opens up a door for us that we probably mentally would close every once in a while because you do get into the habit of thinking, oh, a feature has to be at least 80 minutes. I have to have some. I have to tell this traditionally. I have to, X, Y, Z.
No,
Um,
100%, man. And I think I don't see anything about the budget, but there is one thing that I would like to read about the actual production of this. The crew consisted of only three people: Decker, Connor, which is Ashley Connor, who did the cinematography for this, and a sound recordist. Decker had a background in performance art, and Connor's background was in experimental film. So they created a new visual style for the film, which synthesized both of these. Most of the acting was improvised, which proved difficult to keep in focus with the shallow depth of field of their DSLR camera. But Connor decided to use the blurriness of shots intentionally to help tell the story. The film was shot over 6 days at an actual Balkan folk music camp with additional pickup shots filmed during post production.
Here you go, man. It's isn't it? It's I mean, you called it earlier, but it is like also that thing of embracing your greatest weakness. They run into this huge issue where they're getting blurry shots all the time, and to just be like, all right, well,
Yeah, let's use
can
this
we
to
make
tell the
this work?
story.
And I think it does. Like, I think it works fairly well. I actually was gonna say it's so. It really comes down to the film because we look at old. We just talked about old and some of the cinematography there. Some of it was good, and then some of it felt very jarring. You could argue that that was the intention, but it was like unpleasant.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a fine line between using these techniques to tell a story, and then like once you cross it, you're watching this film and you're like, I have a headache, and that like I'm not
right.
I'm not talking about Butter on the Latch. I'm talking about when we watched Old. So I just want to
Yeah.
specify that. But like while in Old, like the tricks that they were using were cool in parts. Other times I'm like, please stop. Like you're gonna make me sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and so Butter and the Latch, I think it's very successful in the way that it not only incorporates this disorienting kind of filmmaking style, especially at night, which again helps tell the story. It's kind of this story of like, oh, when night falls on this village or this like forest that you're in, not everything is what it seems, and they're inebriated, so it like adds to this, the disorientation aspect of the cinematography really works for me, and the film I think pretty seamlessly goes from normal daytime interactions to oh no, like something weird is happening to back to it's the next morning
You
and
know,
things are normal,
you know what one of my favorite scenes were when we talk about things getting weird is when they're out in that field and they're both wearing like wedding dresses or white dresses, and it's not filmed. It's just a bunch of stills put together
Yeah,
like stop motion. That was one of the most interesting things I've ever seen in films, and that gave me, and what it does is it puts something in our like arsenal now. Like that's what watching these films
right.
do. You're like, that was cool. I might use that in the future. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know for what,
But
but I'm like, but it's
you
something there
file it
now.
away.
Something there
Yep.
now. I'm like, I that might be cool to use.
This and that's the value of this movie beyond just personally enjoying it, which I did very much. I think that like part of the reason we do the show and this whole season is to kind of reflect on the tricks that independent filmmakers use and find new ways to tell stories so that when we move forward with our storytelling, we can kind of have this arsenal going forward. And this movie is one that I don't think I'm going to forget. Like, this might be one of the most useful or memorable films that we watch, purely just from how different it is from everything else we watched. Um, that for me gives it just a ton of value for filmmakers to watch this, I think. Um,
Yeah, I mean, this gets a strong recommend from me if you're interested in film. Like, if you have a passion for film or you have a passion for studying film, this gets a strong recommend for me. Which 6 minutes into the film, I did not think I would be saying.
that's awesome. I agree. I would anyone, yeah, anyone who, even if you're not a filmmaker, I would say anyone who just likes film as like an art form, who isn't afraid to spend an hour and 10 minutes being uncomfortable with how this, or not uncomfortable, but being being patient and just kind of letting the story unfold in front of you, because it does click. It just takes its time, and it's very, like I said, it doesn't treat you like an idiot. So if you feel like this is up your alley, if you like stuff like that, highly recommend this. Did not know what I was walking into, and really just honestly, like I said, I mean, I personally enjoyed this, so I would say that, like, I love the movie regardless. But beyond that, it was a valuable experience,
It
and it's gonna
was
stick with me. You
truly
know, so um, things are gonna be a little bit different next week. I believe that I have our film nailed down, but I
okay.
don't want to say anything because we are going to be, I believe, working. I believe we're going to have
Nice.
a guest filmmaker who is going to chat with us about their both the recent film that we're going to watch, their most recent film, in addition to their upcoming film, which is in post right now. It comes out in 2022. Um, I guess this is all theoretical, so I don't know why I'm going into explanations about the guests that I'm 90% sure we're going to be recording with. It could be the week after, but I think that that's what's going to happen. I don't want to announce it quite yet. I want to nail down the details, but keep your eyes out. We will be posting on socials to let you know what we're watching, where you can watch it. Um, so more to come. But we are working on some very cool things for the end of the season, and hopefully you can expect a couple of guests here. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, more to come.
And I think that's something too. Like, if you know anybody or you yourself are making film, or you have a film coming out and you'd like to come on this podcast and talk about it, message us, because that's one thing that we love to do. We want to showcase your film. We want to talk about your film, and we want to pick your brain about your kind of trials that you had while you were filming it. So if you know anybody or you are one yourself, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's all I got. Join our Patreon if you have a few extra bucks. Do you want to give our shout outs?
Do you want to give the shout outs this time?
Yes. Jay Irvin and Dylan Painter.
Nice.
Thank you. I know the names. I know the names. If you're watching the video, you'll see I didn't have
Yep.
nothing written on my hands.
He did that. He
Um,
did that cold. Wasn't expecting it. He got that from his mind.
Thank you guys very much. And if you would like to join them, you can do so for less than a cup of coffee a month. Um, we really want to get more people in here to watch these movies with us. We think it'd be a lot of fun to watch movies for the show together every week. We try to do 2 watch parties a week. We could probably do more than that if people joined and wanted to watch a movie not for the podcast. I mean, I'm sure that we would be down. Among a bunch of other perks, if you like the show, please consider it. If not, if you can't afford it, thank you just for watching and for listening. And word of mouth goes a long way. So if you feel like sharing something or telling a friend about the show, that's also very much
Yeah,
appreciated.
greatly appreciated sharing for sure.
And that about wraps it, I think, for At the Movies this week. You
Sure
got anything
does.
else?
I don't. No. Just join us on Thursday for after the movies, where we're talking about Vicious Fun. And yeah, we'll be in the same clothes because we're gonna record it right now. So join us on
All
Thursday.
right. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you later this week.
Have a good one, everybody.